You ready?
Yes.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. You know what? One of my colleagues, I have trust in my colleagues. Thanks for everyone for being here for our Facilities Committee meeting. Let's get started with operations update.
Okay, good afternoon. We'll start off with transportation today. Our bus driver recruitment remains strong. We're still hovering around 600 drivers. Some good news is that we got some additional DMV trainers recently. So we've had 3 to 4 of those, which is more than we've had in the past. So that's really good. With that being said, we are finalizing a short survey of our transportation staff, not just drivers, but staff as a whole, everybody in the transportation department. We just want to get a snapshot of where we are, where we stand, kind of a climate survey. Again, it's short and sweet, but we wanted to kind of gauge the temperature of where we are with our staff. I know in talking with some drivers out at school sites recently, they're ready for some better weather and warmer days, and they wanted me to share that with you all, so I did. And let's not forget that this week is Love the Bus Week. So there are lots and lots of things going on associated with that. Shout out to our comms team, Lisa and Sarah and Matt and all of them. They are doing a lot of stuff for us, social media stuff. There was an event this morning at East Cary Middle School where Derek Graham, the former section chief of DPI for transportation, came out, and I think we had some goodie bags and maybe some biscuits and things. So it's Love the Bus Week. If you happen to run across a bus driver, just tell them how much you appreciate the work that they do for us. Moving on to M&O, we've had our relatively usual number of heating concerns recently. Even with extremely cold weather, we did have a broken pipe at Oberlin Middle School that took a little time to get repaired, but all in all, we've done okay considering what we've been through the last couple of weeks. Staffing levels for unfilled positions continues to be challenging. We do need increased staffing in order to improve our levels of service. I can point out, I think as of today, we're still at 2 plumbers for the district. Now, that doesn't mean that we aren't out recruiting and trying to get people. It's just a challenging time. And then lastly, I'll mention child nutrition. Participation levels remain steady compared to previous months. We are evaluating staff, in particular at our CEP schools. You all will see at the board meeting next week, we are and we've always done this, but I just wanted to point it out today. We've got a contract for some temporary staffing assistance. I can tell you from having been in other districts, our CNS staff is lean, pun intended. We operate with skeleton crews at most sites, and there are times, particularly at these CEP schools, where participation is going up, where we need some additional staffing, or in our warehouse where sometimes we may get behind. So that's something that we're looking at being strategic about. We don't have these people on the payroll all the time, and it can be expensive to use this contracted help, but for now we think the benefits outweigh the costs. So that's where we are with the operations update.
Any questions? I had a question, and then I think I have forgotten it. So, I did have one. Thank you, Ms. Edmonds. We have a new transportation director, right?
And I asked him to come today,
Ms. Edmonds asked me, that's why when she raised her hand.
and he's out doing love the bus stuff.
Well, that's where he should be, but we want to meet him.
I will bring him to a meeting. He's, hadn't been on the job too long, but I did ask him to come today, and he had loved the bus.
March meeting.
Yep.
So,
Ms. Edmonds.
I do have a question. My apologies. Can you repeat what you were saying about the CNS staffing, about the
Sure.
particulars?
So what we found, well, first of all, our CNS program is lean, I
Yes.
promise you. And so we have done this in years past. We're doing it again this year. I just wanted to bring it up. At our CEP schools, community eligibility provision,
Yes.
where everybody eats free, participation is higher. And so we're augmenting that staff with some of this contracted service staff. We're also having some problems or challenges, I should say, with labor in our warehouse. And so we're using some of the contracted people to help us with that.
Thank you.
I think as part of we're doing the big organizational study, it would be great to get a sense of how many other CNS staff are in the big districts across the country compared to ours, as you said. Talk about it being lean.
So I would, and I don't see David in here, but I think that will be a part of the study.
I'm hopeful.
I can tell you that I've done one interview with them. My direct reports have done their interviews, and then I've got a follow-up interview. And when I talked with them, that question came up because there are several districts that we know that are similarly sized as we are, and our organizational structure looks a lot different. So I suspect that'll be part of that report that you all
That's
get.
fantastic. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Vegan, what's happening? One of my favorite programs. Weekend Schools. I was so excited, I gotta do approval of the minutes. Thank you, Ms. Edmonds. If I could get approval of the motion from Ms. Edmonds, I would appreciate it.
I will make that motion to approve the December minutes.
Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Awesome. Now.
Well, thanks for having us. We're excited to be back. It's hard to believe it's been almost a year since our original MOA. So coming up to the conclusion of our first year, and we're excited to share some quick updates with you and then review kind of what our ask, our request is. So I think next slide, please. As you will likely remember, for our food recovery program, Stop Hunger and Restore Earth, we, with your approval, started our pilot program, Phase 1, back in March of last year. Those were our first 8 elementary schools. Next slide. And we came to the facilities meeting in June and reviewed some of our early findings and data from that. And again, we were finding 41 food items being donated by students, recoverable items that were unopened, approved foods that we could collect and then redistribute to students either during meal services or later in the day, later in the week. So with 41 food items per day per school, in one school over 180 days, that can be upwards of 7,300 items being donated and redistributed to our students. So we were really excited with those findings, and we continue to find that to be the case. So with that success, we were able to obtain additional funds, and next slide, launch our Phase 2 schools. We were just beginning to plan or working on the plans for this when we met with you back in June. So since then, and from July to September, we launched 10 additional schools, 4 of those being middle schools. So we were so excited to get into the middle school environment, see if there were any tweaks or adjustments needed for program logistics. And really, we found the programs to run pretty much the same as our elementary schools. If anything, perhaps an additional collection cart in the larger cafeterias. But same reception by staff, same reception by students, incredible results and feedback coming from those schools as well. It was around about this time, too, that we were just starting our very exciting collaboration with Wake County Community Services Department, the solid waste team. So Deja Smith is with us and serving as staff support for our programs and helping us with ongoing check-ins at our established share schools. So that's a wonderful partnership with Wake County government there. So next slide. After that success, we were able to again obtain additional funds from the community and also the town of Cary and the city of Raleigh. Very excited about those donations coming in to support our schools. So we were able to launch to 9 additional schools for our Phase 3 launches, and that just concluded launching those schools in January. So very excited about that. So here's our list. Again, 3 more middle schools added to the mix. And we still remain at the end of this point with 45 schools on our interested list. So we have a lot of schools that have reached out to us, whether that be a parent or a principal or a social worker or guidance counselor. I had just had another meeting or 2 last week, informational meetings with schools. So schools continue to find out, hear about the program, hear what we're able to help them work on in their cafeterias and for their students. I'm very excited to try to get involved in the program. So I think the next slide shows some pictures, just a smattering of pictures from our programs. again, some really exciting visuals that we have been able to come up with, and of course, behind that, a lot of stories of students and staff that are thrilled to be able to have an alternative to throwing these perfectly good food items away and going to our landfill. So wonderful chances for students to attain some nutrient foods, some nutritious foods when they need it during the school day or at the end of the school day is a big key time as well. So as we said, we have about 45 schools remaining on our interested list, and so we are coming to you today hoping to extend our MOA. We've talked with Mr. Hershey about looking at a 2-year time frame instead of a year, since we've had such good success thus far. We are in the early planning stages of Phase 4. Next slide will show our list. This is a breaking news list of our Phase 4 schools that have approved or agreed to their slots, have accepted their slots. And we are, again, breaking news, very excited to report. Just this morning, we confirmed that we have received a grant from Wake County Waste Prevention, the Waste Prevention Grant for $10,000. So that fully funds 8 of those 10 schools, and we have funds from community donations for the other 2 of this group. So we are, with your approval and everyone's signatures, hoping to move forward in March and April with these 10. That will round us out, and we will end this school year with 37 schools up and running, 37 share schools. And that will leave, as we probably can do, about 35 schools still on the interested list after Phase 4. So what we're looking for, next slide, I believe, after that, again, 35 plus schools remain on our list. We are still hoping to continue to launch programs as long as we have funding to support these schools and you all in doing so, or the district, and as long as we have the staff capacity between myself, Kathleen, our executive director, Macy is our fabulous AmeriCorps Vista that is with us for the year, and of course now our collaboration with Wake County Solid Waste through Deja's work as well. So we're really excited for that and hope to continue. So we're looking at every angle we can to have ongoing funding to continue the sustainability and the scalability of this program. So we're having some conversations at the county level and some other places to look at alternatives to help us continue to support these schools after their program launches. I think, and there might be one more slide. And of course, again, going along with all this, not only are we focusing the majority of our efforts on our Wake County schools, we are also talking with other school districts. Durham Public Schools is in the process of getting an MOA with a nonprofit that we are collaborating with. They are hoping to roll out a pilot of 2 schools using our share program model, and they're hoping to approve that at their later February board meeting. So we'll be keeping up with their news and helping them. And then also we are advocating at the state level, looking at talking about revisions to our state regulations that would really increase our opportunities for recovery of foods. Not only the types of foods that we can recover, but the mechanisms by which not only our district, but other districts in North Carolina can recover those foods. So we have a meeting with DHHS and DPI on Thursday this week.
By the way, can you just introduce everybody at the
Absolutely,
table?
absolutely.
I should have done that early.
No, that's why. Kathleen Leibowitz, our executive director with Towards Zero Waste. Macy Davis is our AmeriCorps Vista, and she has been with us since September? Yeah, September. So we have her for a year, and we love that partnership. And then Deja is with Wake County Solid Waste. Actually, what is the official title? Wake County Community Services?
Now it's Community Services Solid Waste Management Division.
So you may be familiar with Deja from her work with the Feed the Bin recycling program. So that's a wonderful partnership of the programs working together.
Mark?
We have the MOA for the 2-year program on the consent agenda for the board meeting next week.
And that's the only change, right? Awesome. Any questions? No, yeah, go
I
ahead.
mean, just realistically, what are your projections regarding your ability to scale up on that 35 interested school list? Are you looking at maybe
We know we're
5 of the
volunteers.
35?
We are not paid.
I'm just asking.
We're hoping to continue rolling out in batches of 10. We have Deja's support for the ongoing program management piece. We're still nailing down how many schools she can safely and effectively cover in that capacity. We're probably about, as we end with 37 schools this year, we'll be closing in on that, but still have maybe a little bit of wiggle room for a Phase 5 add-on. And then after that, again, we're exploring partnerships with the Cooperative Extension and some other groups that might be able to continue to support.
I appreciate it. And, all jokes aside, that helps us when people come to us and ask about the program, to be able to help level set with expectations, right? Everyone who hears about it, everyone seems to be very interested in it, but we need to let them know it's not going to happen overnight. So that gives us some idea.
Correct. And just to that point, so we have identified our Phase 4 schools. It's a combination of when the schools contacted us and when we've had informational meetings with them, kind of the response we've gotten. Also, we do at times we are looking at, depending on our funding sources, if we have to identify schools in certain areas, if it's City of Raleigh money or Town of Cary money, that sort of thing. So sometimes that factors into our school decisions. And we do know, too, that we see higher volumes coming from our CEP schools in terms of foods being donated through the program and then going right back out to students. So when possible, we do try to give a little bit of priority, at least to those CEP schools and our Title I schools for a variety of reasons. So we are, as we said, our goal remains to be able to offer this to any school that wants it. But you're correct, we are having to kind of strategize and plan ahead.
Funding, I fill out constant grant applications, but as you all know, Wake County is actually a very wealthy county. So I get turned away for every one I look at, there's like 4 that we're not eligible for because we don't have the free and thank God we don't, but like we don't meet what other counties do.
And for people wondering, we cannot fund it ourselves.
No.
That's, people probably wondering, oh, that's not that much. Why doesn't Wake County Public Schools do it? We would if we could, we're not allowed to. I mean, I would certainly support it if we could as a board member. We're not allowed to. Ms. Gordon.
Thank you. It's great to hear that we are being able to onboard more schools and that the program is really growing. And I think you kind of touched on it in your last comment. I wanted to ask about, could you speak more on the impact, especially around Title I and our CEP schools? And I know you touched on it and you said you're seeing a significant number of the foods being donated and going right back out to students. But I also wanted to ask about the education that is being done to change the culture of the school around students not wanting to take from have we seen any issues with that or improvements around how?
Yes, absolutely. And that was something we had heard looking at other programs across the country, that programs that are open to any students in the school, you're hoping and really trying to reduce or eliminate the stigma that can sometimes go along with other important food security programs that we have and that we need in the schools. And I would say from what we have seen from our schools, yes, at our middle schools, even oftentimes the refrigerator or the pantry cart are in the student services suite. And so students are coming up in between classes or certainly at the end of the day asking for snacks, grabbing things. Certain students make patterns of going to get foods on the way home from school when they're there and available. I think from what we have heard anecdotally from the staff at the school and during our follow-up surveys is that students are taking this food. We have made an effort to connect all of our share schools with an outside food pantry should they have a surplus of foods on a Friday, because we do have cleaning program criteria to have it clean and check items in the pantry cart and the fridge, but really only a few of our schools have had to utilize that on occasion for particular items. Typically, our hummus cups will build up in some schools. Too many hummus, and not everyone wants to take home hummus. Or if there aren't carrots in the fridge too, then there's not the matching snack food. So things like that. But really, and the bulk majority of these foods are going back out to our students. So they didn't have time to eat it in the 20-minute window. They didn't get an item they wanted during their lunch. These are just examples. But someone else is going to eat it later in the day. Or that same child is going to come back and get it that afternoon for a snack because they didn't have time or weren't hungry at 10:30 in the morning for lunch. So there are different ways that it's being utilized, but we're seeing these foods being utilized.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, as Mark said, the MOA is on our agenda for the next meeting. Very exciting.
And our one last little bit of exciting news is that we are finalizing and doing the final edits for a share informational video that Wake County has helped us with as well. So excited, we filmed that at Millbrook Elementary School with their principal's permission. And that would be, we have a public-facing version that will go out and we'll connect with Lisa and Ms. Luton on that to work with the communications team. And we'll have a student school-based version as well.
Thank you so much. Very exciting. Appreciate y'all. Hi, Glenn, Mr. Caruso, come to the table. But honestly, if I was email, really? Want to just introduce everybody and then we'll get started.
All right. How's everyone doing today?
Weather is amazing.
Yes.
And I'm inside, so, yeah.
All right, so I'm joined today, Melissa Jordan, she's our new director for long-range planning. I've got John Bevan, who's a senior director with facilities, and Susan Pulliam, who's senior director with student assignment. And we have Tony Champion here as well.
Because he's just,
So today we're here to present the CIP mobile classroom. As you know, a line item in the CIP is mobile classrooms, and so we're here to give you an update. Last update we gave you was about 2 years ago, and so we have some new information that we'd like to share and really talk about some of the exciting things that we have coming up with some of our schools and their mobile units. So next slide. All right, so similar to what was presented 2 years ago, we're here to just provide information about our mobile classroom fleet. We're going to give you an update on that. Again, we had shared with you previous cost associations with certain moves of mobile units, and we'll update those costs for you again this year. We're also going to give you an update on our current and planned renovation projects, as well as an update of the mobile units scheduled to be removed from campuses prior to the 29-30 school year. So we've got a good snapshot of what we plan to have coming off of campuses in the next several years. Next slide. So again, all of this ties to our strategic plan, which is priority number 3 and specifically AIM 20. Next slide. So we wanted to just stop for a second and just level set with some language. We often use some terms interchangeably, and so we wanted to make sure that everyone was using the same language. Temporary capacity, which is a mobile unit, right? Those 3 different types of those units. You have a multi-classroom unit, a pod or a modular, which is generally a 4, a 6, or an 8 classroom. You have single units, which we'll often call trailers. And then you have other units, which are non-capacity. These could be like your admin spaces or your restroom spaces. And then flexible capacity, this is the term I really want to make sure that we hammer home. When we use the term flexible capacity, we are talking about additional instructional space, which are classrooms that are located within the building, okay? And these provide flexibility over time as we deal with short-term crowding solutions. So these would be opportunities for us to build that capacity within the building. A lot of times you'll see it in renovations or new builds. We'll add additional classrooms that aren't part of the natural core that we're saying is part of the school's capacity, but extra capacity to deal with flexible cohorts that come through particular grade levels. Next slide. So here's our current inventory. Very similar to what we presented to you 2 years ago. We haven't really made a lot of headway, but we do have a lot planned. We still have over 600 mobile units, which provides about 19,000 additional seats for our students. This represents roughly 11% of our total capacity. The majority of the mobile units are being utilized, are owned, with 12% of them roughly being leased. And then a breakdown by level. Elementary, still our highest number of mobile units are at the elementary level, and I know you know why. K-3 class size legislation really hampers our ability to utilize our building space. I think it was over 9,000 seats we lost when that legislation went into effect, which was about the size of 13 elementary schools. 18% at middle school, 15% at high school, and then 5% other. to the fiscal implications. So looking at the estimated trailer costs, we had shared this information with you last time, I'll just update the pricing for you. So in order to refresh or renovate an existing trailer, it costs about $125,000 per classroom. If we were to add a classroom, add a trailer to a campus, roughly $300,000 per classroom. All right, so if you're moving an 8 classroom unit or a 6 classroom unit, you can do the math there. It gets to be pretty costly. Removing trailers from a campus, so this is if we're going to take a single unit, 1 classroom, roughly $10,000 per classroom if we were just to demo the unit. Now, a lot of them are on instructional space, so we're going to need to repair the space that it's on, like a field, a ball field or whatnot, and so that would cost us a little bit more, roughly $20,000 per classroom to demo and repair the site. Then as we talk about flexible capacity, so this is the capacity, again, that's being built into the building. There's 2 ways you can do it. We plan ahead early enough, and we can get it built as part of the renovation, a large-scale renovation project or a brand-new school building project. It costs about $2.5 million per 6 classrooms, okay? The alternative, which is kind of like adding an extra bedroom to your home, right? You're doing an add-on to your existing building. Those units would cost about $3 million per classroom if we were to do a partial renovation. Per 6, sorry, thank you. So as you can see, gets pretty costly, but these are options that we can use. Over time, we've had to use mobile classrooms because of their cost feasibility for the district. And so over time, we're starting to now work our way away from using those. So our current renovation projects, these are capital improvement projects that you've seen. These are units that have mobile classrooms on them as now, so as we are renovating these, we're taking those mobile units offline, either taking them off completely or adding in flexible capacity at these sites. Total units removed will be 34 single classrooms, there'll be 6 multi-classroom units removed, and 2 other use, for a total of 69 classroom units removed, with just these projects labeled on this slide. And now this is the new information. So this is where we're really starting to make some headway. And we've made a commitment to start providing a multi-year update to both schools and the board of what we plan to remove off of campuses. And so prior to the 26-27 school year, we're going to have 2 units that are going to be relocated. So there's going to be a 6 classroom at Leesville Middle School and an 8 classroom unit at Middle Creek High School. Those will be moved to Wake Lawn Elementary to help with the growth that's coming in the Zebulon area. And as you can see in the capital improvement plan, we'll be talking more about the growth that's coming in that area. And then we have some removals. So Durant Road Middle School will remove 10 single units. Wake Forest Middle School will lose 5. Those are from the front parking lot. And there's going to be a paving project at that school. We'll be removing 12 single units from Westlake Middle School. And then Rock Quarry, we have some storage units and some bathroom units that'll be removed. Those will all be coming off prior to the 26-27 school year. Then looking ahead to the 27-28 school year, we've got more relocations. Leesville Elementary will be losing a 6 classroom unit, and Middle Creek High School will be losing their second 8 classroom unit. Those will be going to Carver Elementary to help with the growth that's coming in the Wendell area. Now, we do have Marshburn Road Elementary coming online, as well as a renovation for Wendell Elementary, but we still have tremendous growth in that eastern part of the county. And then adding to that, removals, these will be coming offline prior to the 27-28 school year. You've got a classroom unit, 4 classroom unit, and a 6 classroom unit at East Millbrook, 4 single units at Leesville Elementary. Leesville Middle will lose 4 singles and a 4 classroom unit. 4 single units at Middle Creek High, and Wakefield will lose 5 single units. And so some of those will be leased units as well. We don't have the exact number right offhand, but some of those will be leased units. We also have 50 single units total, 3 multi-class and 2 other, for a total of 64 classrooms removed. The number of units relocated will be 4 multi-class. And so this is something we're going to continue to update for you every year moving forward, so that we're giving you at least a 12 to 18 month heads up as to what's coming off the campus. And we felt that was really important for school principals, especially so as they're doing their master scheduling, they're knowing at least 12 months in advance what units will be coming off, so they won't plan for classes to be in those buildings. Okay? So our projected inventory moving forward, so by 2029, we'll reduce the number of trailers by 97 units, which is under 33 classrooms. Of those, 11 would be leased units, which brings us to a percentage decrease of 8% at elementary, 47 at middle school, 4% at high, and 24% for other. And you can see the middle school, where we have our significant amount of capacity in the district, we're able to move some of those units off sooner. And then our goal moving forward. Obviously, trailers are something we don't want to use, but they are a necessity for the district. But we're going to continue to remove trailers during planned renovations that we've shared with you earlier. We'll monitor and assess underutilized schools to find where we have the brick and mortar capacity already in the building. We can utilize that and get the trailers off the campus. And then also look at overcrowded schools and areas where we may be able to do a renovation project where we can add the flexible capacity to the building. And with that, take any questions or concerns.
Thank you, Vice Chair Hershey. So what kind, and this is maybe more for the facilities and operations folks, what kind of inspection or analysis goes into the evaluation of these mobile units before they're reassigned? And what I mean by that is, like if a mobile classroom is being identified for relocation, say there are 4 at Leesville Elementary, 1 will be reassigned, 3 are just going to be, taken out of service, relocated. Have you inspected and evaluated those units to know that they are suitable? Because as you know, we have a lot of mobile units that are less than ideal.
Yes.
And we just don't want to move one problem trailer to another school.
Right. Yeah, so the short answer to that is the trailers are renovated when they're relocated. And so if it's in a decrepit enough condition, obviously we're going to pass on that one. But if it's serviceable in its current state, it's going to be renovated. That $125,000 cost of renovating those trailers, it's not quite that full number. That $125,000 would be take it down to the studs and replace everything inside of it type of renovation. But we do renovate them as we bring them onto a new campus. Rollsville High School was the most recent ones that we've done. If you get a chance to go up there and take a look, they're very nice inside for a trailer, but they've been renovated.
So just to follow up then, if I understand you then, before the decision is made, about we're going to take so many units, you do some inspection just
Absolutely.
to...
Yes.
Yeah.
And there are also some internal conversations about the ability to perhaps find a modular unit that might have bathroom units already included, because
Yeah.
that's a little bit more appreciated than a single individual standalone. So we are trying to find the most optimal units that could serve the purpose a little bit more long-term, because we know they're going to be there for a period of time.
If you have multiple sites from which you might be able to draw down and relocate some of these trailers, if you can prioritize that,
Right.
in some ways looking on which ones will need the less work.
Yes.
I
Absolutely.
just wanted to make sure that was being done. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Will you have to pull any levers in terms of placing the students after you've removed those particular units?
To reassigning any students after we...
Or just putting them, are they going to be put back into the main building?
The vast majority of the cases, the schools aren't using the units, and that's why they've been identified for removal, is because the principal has shared with us they have plenty and sufficient capacity in the building. But yes, on occasion, they might have stretched out a little bit and used up some of those extra spaces that are available, and that's the intent behind the early notification, is so that they can sort of reorganize their structure and pull everybody back into the building.
Great.
So, you might be able to answer this, this is kind of for anybody. Has there ever been, or have we ever done a cost analysis of the impact of the class size legislation?
Meaning,
Generally, but not specifically. If I understand, and tell me if I'm translating this right, we've looked at, for example, the impact of K-3 class size legislation, and, for example, if we did not have that legislation in place, and we could keep students in the schools where there was the physical capacity, as opposed to the legally mandated capacity, how would that impact our school, our school building needs and operation needs? And I know that at one point, you know, Susan, I don't know if you were here on your first go-round with it or not, I know Glenn was here, that we looked at, and I think it was, you were able to identify like a certain number of elementary schools that would need to have been built at projections of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, we can go back and research that again and pull some data.
And around May or June of last year, we did talk a little bit about the impact of that and how we still haven't caught up with all the new school construction we've done, so we can take those two and bring them together if you'd like,
Yeah.
a rough cost estimate.
You know, every now and then I like to just bring that up. We see the expense of adding and building, and it's not all related to the class size legislation, but it was an unfunded mandate. We were not provided hundreds of millions of dollars to be able to comply with a new state law. And so we talk about why are we behind in different areas, where is funding coming from? I just want to remind people sometimes, this was not a small, like, oh, they'll find a few million dollars to fix this. Hundreds of millions of dollars, that if you take that and use it in other areas, are we behind? You know, and that's a, I just want to remind people of that the consequences of that action alone. And it's not advocating for bigger class sizes necessarily, just the unfunded mandate of it.
Yeah, it was 9,000, over 9,000 classrooms, which
Yeah.
equates to 13 elementary schools. And so you put 13 elementary schools up on there, it's 13 times what, $70 million? A lot of money.
Maybe $1 billion. Ms. Edmonds?
That was the back of the napkin math that I was going to bring up, just because what you just said, 9,000 seats lost equals 13 elementary schools. If we were to build those, would equal this. So it is no small thing. I just,
Yeah, and then you get, a whole bunch of stuff in there.
And then you look at, if you have to build these in the areas that tend to have the highest growth, those are also the areas with the highest property costs in terms of where you look at.
Well, that doesn't include land costs, staffing costs, and
We're
everything.
generally not getting land that's suitable, you know, right off the bat for building, so you're going to have to do a lot.
And we talk about transportation, that's, about bus routes. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, so I don't want to add work to it, but I'm just, I want to have that cumulative impact financially, especially.
May I follow up?
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with you that it's worth, revisiting and renaming often, because it should be something that board members in particular should be able to quote to the public, just, without even thinking about it, because it matters. It matters a lot. It impacts reassignment, as we know. So not just dollars, but the impact on families.
So that aside, I just want to say that this is really great work. I'm really appreciative of it. I know that you heard from the board as a collective that we don't love trailers, and there's a lot of reasons why, including the maintenance and operations and all of that goes into it. And so, these plans and then having a plan to continuously update and provide that runway of 12 to 18 months is really appreciated by me and I know my colleagues. And so this is great work, and we look forward to it continuing.
Thank you. The staff over the last year has worked really hard, so kudos to them. They've done a great job.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. All right, we are rolling, right on time. Actually, we're a minute behind, my bad. CIP life cycle?
Yep, so I will help you make that minute up. Nate couldn't be with us today, so this won't be an M&O and life cycle presentation. It will be strictly a life cycle project update. Next slide. So this fiscal year, we are undertaking more chiller replacements, just direct chiller replacements. Enload, Mount Vernon, Lake Forest, Bud, Highcroft. All of those are getting new chillers. At the time we complete these chiller replacements and the remainder of projects that you'll see here, we will have replaced 21 chillers this fiscal year alone. Next. Part of those chillers will be replaced in central energy plant replacements. We're also tackling boiler replacements at the schools that you see here. A lot of these projects are moving from the design phase into the bidding and construction phase. So we are on schedule to have all of the projects that we presented to you in the last presentation that we were going to tackle in this fiscal year completed on time. We're doing a couple of strictly building automation system replacements at Wildwood and Yates Mill. We're also doing building automation system replacements in our plant projects as well. We're also doing in our full HVAC system replacement projects, such as the Highcroft Coral replacement. Holly Springs Elementary School was a full HVAC replacement. Joyner Elementary School's full HVAC replacement, as is Wakefield Middle School and Willow Springs Elementary School. So that's not just chillers, that's chillers, boilers, air handlers, controls, and control devices. All of these projects, and this is all of the HVAC projects that Life Cycle is doing, all of these projects will be under construction or at least bid by March 10th of this year. So we're actually a little ahead of schedule. We are still down 2 project managers. We're having a hard time trying to hire another mechanical HVAC project manager. We've been looking and interviewing, but we have yet to find a qualified applicant.
So is it the resume, the quality of the applicant versus the pay? I mean, do you have a sense of what we're running into this?
The last 2 people that we were going to interview that withdrew based on salary.
Okay. Good to know. Questions?
Only an answer. When we use those words in our budget meetings about maintenance, operations, formula, alignment, that are kind of abstract terms, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
So just putting that out there, when you hear that phrase again.
I'm in agreement. Anybody else? You did get us ahead of schedule. Thank you very much, and great work, and, you know, it's always nice to hear something's ahead of schedule with the volume of work we're doing, and I think it's great for people to see that work really is being done, and it's, I mean, you said 21 full replacements this year.
21 chiller replacements this year alone. Just for comparison and the amount of work that's being done, over the last 10 years, once these are finished, we will have completed nearly 160 chiller replacements, which is over half of the chillers in the district.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Appreciate you very much. All right, we're ahead of schedule. Everyone will like that?
Mark Cooney.
Hang on.
How many did you say, 100 and?
160 over the last 10 years, 21 this fiscal year.
Right, I got it. Thank you.
And Life Cycle does much more than just HVAC.
Right.
And they have maxed out their capacity.
You're doing great.
So we're going to do more.
And I do have a quick update for you if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did speak to regional maintenance. They are doing the replacement of the flooring in the auditorium at Dillard.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were talking to me.
They can use the auditorium now.
Fantastic.
They are trying to coordinate the time for carpet replacement.
Okay.
The actual pit is not filled.
Thank you so much.
All right. Gentlemen?
Okay, executive summary update. Mark Cooney is not available to be here. Sorry about that. I'm going to try to fill in. What we'll be talking about is how this connects to the strategic plan, and we'll be showing the 7-year proposed CIP. How this ties into the CIP, with the strategic plan is its priority 3, operational effectiveness, and aim 17. Okay. So we've met with, I believe, all school board members on the CIP this fall and winter. We are presenting this today, but we'll also be presenting it next month.
to make sure that this is an introduction really for the public. And then next month, we'll see if there's any response, reaction, anything that we need to look at. The direction from the county has been that we needed to name the projects that were going to be receiving dollars in the bond referendum. So the bond referendum is November 2026. It's coming up. The years that it will impact on the CIP is fiscal years 28 and 29. They're in the blue. They're the first two sets of blue columns. So you'll see that we have Marshburn Elementary School, we have Pool Road Elementary School, and Little Creek Elementary School. As far as new schools that are in that period, we have a project that's above that, and that's Parkside Middle School and WeSib, so it's underway. The projects that are below that are placeholders for future year funding. We do work with the county as far as the bottom line, which you're only seeing the bottom line in the new school section. And we'll get to that in two more slides. And what this represents is really a focus on looking at funding, increasing our funding and priority for existing schools. So this is the new schools section. If you all are good with this, we can.
So before we say we're good with this, we've talked a lot about our capital needs, and we know that over decades, our school construction has not kept up with the growth we've seen in Wake County. Everyone's doing the best they can. But there's a limit on how much that we can realistically expect to finance each period, right?
Yes.
We can't finance all of our needs. So I know we have talked about as a board the balance between funding schools, new schools to meet school growth, population growth, and the need to fund renovation to take care of the facilities that we have. So when we look up at new school funding, I wanted to ask you with the placeholders, I see funding for a new elementary, a new middle, and a new high school. And I know that when we've talked about our long-term growth in the county and looked at the projections, we see a lot of growth, for elementary school, not as much for high school, and then at middle school, it seemed kind of stagnant. For whatever reasons, people put their kids into public, elementary schools, they tend to come out in middle school, and then a lot of them come back for high school. Do we have data that says that for the cost, the 85, the 9, and the 16 million, that is what's needed in elementary, a middle, and a high school versus maybe 2 or 3 elementaries and a middle? I'd just like to know a little bit more about that formula.
So this scenario is a strong contender. So we do have data there that supports this approach. And as time goes on, we'll see if that pans out. So that we'll say right now that is a strong contender for those needs. And just remember that our needs can be regionalized. So we don't have perfect distribution across the district. So that also is a factor that we do need to look at.
And let me follow up with this. The line item in the chart says new ES to be determined, new middle school, new MS, middle school, new HS. And then you look at the funding amounts over there under, the first time you see them, FY32. Is that for one of each, multiple of each? Why is the funding for a new elementary school that would be financed so much higher than the cost of a middle school or high school?
So what you would specifically be saying for the middle school, TBD, again, placeholder, that would only be a design year.
Okay.
So that's why there's a big disparity.
With the elementary school, you contemplate you could actually break ground and have construction costs within that FY32?
That plan, that scenario works out for it to be a real scenario.
Okay. All right, perfect, thank you.
Design dollars are 2 years ahead in fiscal year 30 for that school.
So we're starting the process, but you'll see there's design dollars in fiscal year 30 for elementary schools.
Yeah. And what we do, because it's a better way to plan, we actually have internally a 10-year plan. And we show the 7-year plan. But in order to really know those later years, you have to go out further. So we do that. And again, it is a scenario. Future boards, will decide, approve, which scenario they want to go in.
So just to be clear then, everyone's seeing a new middle school and a new high school popping up in 32. That's not that anyone will be constructed by then. That's only the beginning of the process, the planning and the design stages, and the expenditures needed for that.
Yeah, there's a scheduled completion line there that'll tell you what year that project is expected to be completed.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
And by not naming them, it also gives us a lot of flexibility.
Yeah.
Should the data change, like we're seeing in Wendell and Zebulon, where we have to shift now our focus to the eastern part of the county, by not naming those schools so far out gives us the ability to swap schools that we've put in those slots.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's keep going.
Okay, and moving on to the next section, which is existing schools. Again, you will see an increase on the number of projects and the funding. The projects that I will list are the ones that are in fiscal year 28-29. Those are those that would be in the bond referendum years. That includes Athens Drive High School, Briarcliff Elementary School. These are already underway. East Gardner Middle School in the design phase. Ligon Middle School design, we hope to be beginning the design phase soon. Cary High School, we've got funding on that. That project is, we're going through the architect selection on that. Wendell Elementary School. Washington has been listed before. That is a new one that's showing up on this list. It showed in past years, but it's back due to a better way of funding it. East Wake High School is a new school listed here. And then if we'll have existing school TBD1 placeholder. We do have Zebulon Middle School there. That has been listed in past years, last year. We wanted to keep that. We just needed to move it down because of the way this project sequencing needed to work out with the dollars. So all of that has to work with the dollars. And so that's why you might say we got things out of order. But it was all intentional.
But in pushing down Zebulon Middle School also provides us the opportunity, if we need to use a swing space, we can use the East Wake Middle School site as a potential swing space for that.
East Wake High School.
East Wake High School, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, so what that is, initial thoughts are East Wake High School would be a replacement on campus, on site. The existing East Wake High School would then be available for swing space for future projects in the eastern part of the county.
And that's, swing space is something that we need throughout the county, so.
Desperately.
It's smart planning to do that, and before anyone gets ahead of themselves, we will make sure that the current East Wake High School is appropriate for whatever would swing there. Not just, not moving people necessarily into an entire high school. But that's a long ways out, but I'm sure the people of that community will be excited to hear that East Wake will be getting a new high school, and they desperately, I won't say desperately, but they certainly need it.
There's tremendous growth in that area.
Yeah, yeah, very exciting for them, happy for them. Sorry.
So, one thing that I wonder about, with our capital improvement program, we frequently, well, I mean, primarily the focus is always schools. But in this committee, we've also talked about other facility needs for school administration, other school functions. And I'm curious, would you, I don't see it here, and we never have, but would you ever see bond financing for something, for construction on something like our Rock Quarry Road facility, or for an additional swing space site, for something we could do at the Capitol Boulevard site?
So it's a nice segue into the next slide if you're ready to move.
We are ready to move.
So program requirements. That includes life cycle, as Tony Champion just had provided an update. we've got temporary classrooms that Glenn Carrizza just gave an update on, partial renovations and improvements. That is where we've got your Fuquay Varina Elementary School project right now. That's PRIMP funded and some life cycle funding. And the SNAP, which is in the very last column, very last row, space needs and analysis and prioritization. That would be your quarry, that would be your Piney Plains type projects. One thing I want to highlight is real estate services. What we're proposing is $0 again this year. And that would be, that money we would be moving to security. And security already gets in the neighborhood of $5+ million as the typical allocation. So add that 13 plus and you get 18.4 million for security. Again, that's an initiative, a priority for the board. So we're trying to follow suit with the funding. So going back to some of the projects that you were talking about, your SNAP type projects, your Rockport there and your Piney Plains. That funding isn't enough to do a large project at one time. So what we've been looking at and expecting to do and reporting out is that we do expect that we would have to do multiple projects and small projects each time to eventually get where we want to be. So we do need folks to be patient. There would be some improvements along the way, but it just could not be a big, massive project. We've got so much going on, so many projects, and so many needs, that we try to do everything, a little bit of everything. Can't do everything at one time.
I think that would be a great start. From talking with my colleagues about places like Rock Quarry, I don't think there's an expectation that we're going to build it all at once, but having a plan and finally getting started on there is, I think, is huge for our staff that works there as well as, Any questions at this moment for anybody? All right.
Just a comment.
Yeah.
As I've been advocating for a while now, knowing that we're not likely to see any impactful increase in capital funds that are available, what can we do to look at the planned use of funds and how we prioritize those? I do appreciate the prioritization of the security improvements and the reduction of those, the land and property acquisition. Again, that's something we can't do forever because we will have other property needs. But right now, hopefully, if we can fund those security improvements on the front end, once they're in, then we won't have the need, to keep funding beyond that. But I would still advocate for looking at a strategic reduction in the cash funding for technology device refresh, with the idea that, even a 20% reduction, which I think could be accomplished by some of the policy changes we've been talking about in student achievement and in work session, a reduction like that, based on the numbers you've shown, would look like it could finance some of maybe the design costs for either some of these SNAP projects or specifically something that we've talked about, designing more swing space capacity with the idea that over time we could have more dedicated swing space at any of the sites we've talked about in other meetings, but particularly whether it's in Western Wake, Eastern Wake, or a central site, so that when you move a middle school, when you move a high school, you have a suitable facility for the students, and it gives you more options, for your actual renovation work and site design. So again, I would encourage exploration of that as you develop the CIP going forward. I know you don't control the program side of the budget, but if you see corresponding changes on the program side, that might lead to a reprioritization on the capital side, particularly on the technology side. I think we could get a jump on some of these other needs that we've been talking to you about for swing space, for Rock Quarry Road, and some of those others, again, without increasing the total dollars that we have to work with or pulling them from a school renovation or other priority project.
So we definitely have heard that message before, and we are aware of it, we're on board with it, we are exploring, that as an option. At our next core team meeting, we will have a presentation that will go, well into that, and we'll see what kind of opportunities there are.
Thank you.
All right.
This is summarizing the three, the new schools, existing schools, and program requirements. And you can see the dollar focus on existing schools. Existing schools would be the second line and the third row. And that also note on this is that really we're working with an average of $420 million per year. So that's real money. It's funding a lot of projects.
Very generous amount. We appreciate it. Thank you.
And I think it's worthwhile to note that we've shared this with you all before. If you look at the next 7 years, now that we don't have the tremendous growth in the western part of the county, we are able to focus more on some of our existing schools. And the quick math I did some time ago, and I'm sure it's relatively close now, if you include out of the CIP just the money for new schools and existing schools, and then throw in the 7-year total for life cycle, which is at existing schools, we're spending 75% of that available funding on existing schools. I think that's important to know.
The next two slides are really definitions and things like that. So the meat of the presentation was the project list. They're happy to answer any questions, and if you have any questions between now and next month, of course, we're happy to answer whatever we can.
Dr.
Yeah, so on the slide 6 with the land property acquisition for the upcoming year, or is it 26, 27?
Fiscal year 27, $0, proposed $0 year.
And then the subsequent years, you have an amount in each of those fiscal years. Is that just kind of a placeholder at this point?
Well, all of those future years are placeholders. They're realistic numbers. The 13 million is historically is that plus a inflation factor. And fortunately, we're in a good place with land bank sites that we aren't feeling an immediate need to purchase additional property beyond what we already have in the budget. So when we're showing a $0, that doesn't mean we have $0 in the real estate account. We still have money in that account, and we feel we've got that covered for anything that's going to come up in the next couple years.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. I don't have anything else. Nice work.
We will bring this back next month.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. I think that takes us to the end. If there's any new business and items that anyone wants to bring up? Nope. Okay.
I mean, I'm just a broken record. so.
No, I'm with you on a lot of that stuff, so. I think since we saw the technology presentation last week, it'll be interesting to see where that number goes.
Yeah.
And I'll certainly be advocating for what you're advocating for now, so. I guess that's it. All right, with that, call this meeting adjourned.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.